What's good, my good people? I'm curious, have you ever thought about starting your own podcast, but you just don't know where to start? If so, I'm about to put y'all on. Have y'all heard about Anchor? Well, if you haven't, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Hold up, let me explain though. First of all, it's free. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. How easy is that? Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything, literally everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you're curious about it, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now, enjoy the show, y'all. Peace.
Yo, this is Tyson Baker, aka Tyson Baker, CEO and founder of Way Up Media Group. And I just want to send out mad love to the Blessed Beyond Measure podcast. CEO The Source, you are doing it. You are making it happen. You are progressing every day. I'm so proud of you. Keep going, keep making great content, and keep showing love because everybody in this world needs to be blessed beyond measure.
What is good, everybody? Welcome back to the Blessed Beyond Measure podcast. I'm your host, CL The Source. Thank you, as always, once again for tuning in to yet another episode. In today's episode, I really just wanted to kind of come off the cuff like I typically do from time to time and just speak my mind. I've had a lot of time for reflection and had some moments of clarity that have been really indescribable. But I'm going to go ahead and try to describe them because they were really important to kind of come across some of the thoughts that I came to and realizations and conclusions and just clarity to help me to continuously move forward. You know, it's been pretty profound and revealing, man. So, you know, I just definitely wanted to kind of come on here and speak about what's been going on. It's been a while since I created the last episode, so I do apologize about that. I did take some time off. I went away for a little bit. It was a quick trip out to Kona, Hawaii, which is typically known as the Big Island. It was a really, really dope trip. It was my first time out to Kona, actually, and I had a great time. I was with my brother, my dad, my stepmom, and myself. And every time I get the privilege and opportunity to go out to Hawaii, it's always a great time. I don't care how long it is, where I go, even what I do, just being out there on the islands or just being out there, you know, in that space where you're just, I feel like I'm just so connected to the environment over there. You know, I'm connected to the lands, but it's just something about it that brings about a certain type of peace that I'm working on cultivating every single day of my life. You know, I recognize how powerful it is to be in a peaceful place and, you know, what that can mean for my life going forward and, you know, and presently. So Hawaii is always somewhere that I gravitate to. I feel like I want to have a retirement home out in Hawaii. If I can go to Hawaii 5 times out of the year, I would do it. If even more, obviously. Even one time is honestly amazing because it's such a privilege to be there. Now, one might hear me say that and be like, why don't you just move to Hawaii? And that's a really good question, right? For me, I've actually contemplated doing that. I've actually considered doing that several times in my life. I do have family out there. I do, like I said, have this deeper connection to the islands. And every time I go out there, I just have an amazing time. And that very well could be because it's vacation. You're supposed to have a great time on vacation. But it's just something about walking Hawaii and being there, being in the ocean, nature, the people, the vibe, how they preserve their culture and what they do, and they're very selective about what they let in and what they let out onto the island and everything like that. So I think it's just a combination of everything. But either way, I can't really explain my affinity for Hawaii. I just love it. It's somewhere that I constantly gravitate to. And I've even come to the conclusion that when I ultimately pass away, I would like my body to be cremated, and I'd like the ashes to be spread out into the oceans near Hawaii. But going back to the question, why not just move to Hawaii? That is a great question. It's something that I still consider every day. And to answer that question, I would say that the reason why I wouldn't move to Hawaii right now is because I am in a great place where I'm at currently, and I love where I'm at. And I had to move away from where I'm currently at in the Bay Area, California, San Francisco, Daly City area to be exact. And, you know, I lived in LA. From previous episodes, I've mentioned that I lived in LA for about 6.5 years. And if you know me personally, I was there for 6.5 years. I moved out there with my cousin, had a great time. It was a great adventure. Learned a lot about myself. And the main reason why I even moved out there in the first place was to get that, really just to put myself into a different environment where I didn't know that many people. I didn't know the lay of the land. I wanted to challenge myself, see what I was made of, and see how I'd fare out. And in that 6.5 year time span, I experienced a lot. I definitely went on some crazy adventures. I've had some wild times. I've had some great times. I've had some very challenging times that I'll probably go into more detail, you know, as this podcast progresses, not just this episode, but going forward. I'll talk about some of my experiences. Just to give you guys a couple of examples. I mean, I was low on money, you know, at various points in my stay out in Los Angeles. I went jobless for a while. I definitely struggled with money. So there were times where I couldn't eat. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't really, or if I were eating, it was usually some like fast food to kind of like just pay for whatever I needed to do to get full, which is clearly not ideal. But at the same time, it did the job. It got me through, and I did fall on my ass several times over there. Kind of fell back into my old patterns of what I was doing here in the Bay Area prior to me moving to LA, which is something I felt that I needed to change in myself. You know, some of the patterns of like drinking, staying out late, binging, partying, doing drugs, sleeping with different women, you know, and I'm just being very open about this, you know, like I really want to be as transparent as possible. That's something that I've always strived for with this podcast, right? Is just being authentic. And, you know, in LA, I definitely reached some challenging times, and it tested me. It made me kind of stronger in a lot of different ways. I've been through a lot of crazy shit in my life, even prior to leaving for LA and living in LA. You know, I mentioned in the past that I survived cancer and beat it. You know what I'm saying? I've been in various situations where I could have died. I could have lost my life several times. And through it all, I'm still here. I'm a different man now. I feel like I've been through all those different things, and it happened for me to kind of wake me up, to kind of put me into this space that I'm in right now. It took a long time, but my journey finally has gotten me to a place where I realize things and see things more clearly, and I prioritize things differently, and I actually value things way more differently than I did in my life before. And, you know, I needed that experience. I had a lot of great times in LA, but I had some times that were really shaky and that really tested me, like I said, and really made me question, you know, what my ambitions were. Like if my ambitions were valid, if I was ever going to achieve my dreams. I've reached a lot of points of self-doubt. I didn't know if I was going to make it sometimes, but the universe continuously provided, continuously had my back. And, you know, I could have lost belief And hell, I probably did lose belief to be real several times during that point of my journey. But ultimately, like, I just realized like it was part of the experience. It was part of like what I even asked for going out to LA in the first place. And looking back at it right now, I was just very, very thankful to have gone through some of the things that I went through and experienced all of that in my life. I met some great people who I'm still in contact with to today. You know what I mean? Like, I got some great friends that I made out there, some great connections, some people that I truly love that are very near and dear to my heart. I got to have some fucking priceless experiences that I look back at it and sometimes I just laugh. I'm like, wow, that shit was fucking dope. And now I got another place to go to anytime I need to kind of like step away from whatever I need to, step away from, or just kind of like change the scenery, because LA has become kind of like a second home to me now. Spending 6.5 years of your life out there, that's typically what will tend to happen, right? I kind of know the lay of the land a whole lot better. Like I mentioned, I know a lot more people out there, and it's just a cool place to be. I mean, it's crazy though. Prior to me leaving for that journey of living in LA, I didn't have a real idea of what I wanted to do. As a matter of fact, I kind of just went out there on a whim. I went out there with X amount of money, with no plan, no job, and just decided to thrust myself into a completely new environment. I don't like to say completely because it's still California and it's a hop, skip, and a jump away from the Bay Area. So it's not like completely brand new. It's not like I've never been to LA before either. But for me, it was putting my putting my world on its side and really just challenging myself and seeing what I was made of. So it was an experience that was very invaluable, very, very, very priceless, honestly. And looking back again, I'm just thankful I got to experience it and come out of it alive. Come out of it alive. And fast forward to now where I'm currently at, I just love the space that I'm at. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I moved back to the Bay Area in 2019, early 2019, and it's been amazing. Like, I got a chance to reconnect with my family, and I think when you're away for so long, the main thing it did for me was just it taught me how to be appreciative and grateful for what I have. And when I was living in the Bay before I moved to LA, I might have been taking a lot of the stuff that I have here now for granted. The love that I have here, the community that I have here, the people that I have here, all my favorite restaurants that I love to go to, you know what I'm saying? All the places that I love to just check out, like, in general. Like, I mean, I live in Daly City now, and I'm just up the way in like 10 minutes I can be in Pacifica, which is somewhere that I've been gravitating to a whole lot. It's a beautiful, very cutty, very tucked away, excuse me, very tucked away beach area. If you're not really from out here, Pacifica tends to get overlooked. You know what I'm saying? Like, you will probably miss it, but it's a super chill place that I like to go to a whole lot. And if you're listening to me from like a random part of the world, which I know that I have some listeners and some viewers that catch this content like in different places of the world, I just want to give you a nice description of what Pacifica is. It's and if you ever do get a chance to visit, you may come on a time when it's like super cold and gloomy and be like, damn, Chris lied to me. This shit is fucking cold, gloomy, and nasty, but it's really an amazing place. I'd say like, especially for out in this area, like the nature of it is all preserved. They do a good job of maintaining and preserving like the spaces and not letting too much of it get tapped into by, some of the big businesses. And, it's a nice way to kind of just go off the grid for just a small amount of time, go off the matrix for a little bit and just tap in with nature. Some really great hikes, very beginner to intermediate type of hikes with some spectacular views, clean, fresh air. And then just up the way from there, you got Half Moon Bay, and if you can keep going down further and further, and the Bay Area has a lot to offer. So highly recommend that if you're listening to this and you've never been to the Bay Area before, you need to come over here and do so. It's a beautiful place. It's somewhere that I love. Obviously, I'm talking about it for this long, and it's somewhere that I'm still like exploring. One thing about going to LA and then coming back to the Bay Area, one thing that it made me realize is that, like, I'm born and raised in San Francisco, and I know San Francisco very well. I know the peninsula pretty damn well as well. But at the same time, the Bay Area, I have yet to explore so much of it. I mean, it's so huge. Like, there's so much nature out here. There's so many different towns and places to check out. But I've kind of, prior to me moving to LA, like, I kind of confined myself to just the city. And, being from the city, like, everything's already there for you. So it kind of like, in a way, kept me at bay. No pun intended. I really didn't mean a pun intended over there on that last one. But real talk, the Bay Area has so much to offer, and I'm trying to explore it more and more. I'm trying to go across the bridge, Golden Gate Bridge a little bit more, even further south, further north. And just explore, because it's a great place, and it has a lot to offer. So by all means, please check out the Bay Area if you haven't already done so. If you haven't been out here, it's a beautiful place to be. Great people, great vibes. If you like cool weather, it is definitely cool out here. And I'm being modest because for me it gets fucking cold, but I've learned to love it. And it's actually very refreshing, especially coming back from Hawaii recently, where it was like really, really hot. Like the sun was really, really on top of me, and it burned the hell out of me. So kind of coming out here to this cool environment was very refreshing. But anyway, kind of just going back to my train of thought here, I've been reflecting about a lot of different things recently. When I was in Hawaii, I came to a space where I was able to just get quiet and find communion with nature. And, excuse me, let me take a sip of this tea real quick, and I'm going to get right back to this. Hold on. My bad, y'all. I found a time. Well, not necessarily time, because it was the whole time, but I was able to, at various points during this trip, just reflect and get still and really just appreciate where I was at. And I started to reflect on life and just how rare it is to be experiencing life as a whole, and I get it. Some people's reference points are completely different. Like, I'm very aware that not everybody is able to have some of the blessings that I've been able to have. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very aware of that. But at the same time, like, I'm of the mindset, which I've said in the past, I feel like we can manifest anything in our life. We can speak anything into existence. It doesn't happen in a snap of a fingers when you want it to. You have to, be an active participant and do what you need to do in order to help manifest certain things in your life. Utilize resources, figure stuff out. And it's not easy. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's possible. So even with the barest of resources, you can come to a place where you can attain what you need to attain to give yourself a better life. And for me personally, when I was in Hawaii, I started thinking about life in general. And, what pops up when you think about life in general? You think about, your life directly, of course. You think about the world. You think about what's happening, what's being kind of projected out there. You think about, the people in your life. You think about the meaning of life, all these different things. And it's just like, I got to thinking, I was just like, man, I'm just fucking fortunate to even be alive, to be able to experience, to be able to feel, to be able to understand, to be able to learn, to be able to just live. Cause dead ass, we could have been born something completely different from a human being, or not even born at all, and had zero consciousness, and we wouldn't know shit. But I'm born into this world. I'm born into this universe, and I'm learning more and more that actually the universe resides in me. And that sounds like some hippy dippy trippy shit, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, and I'm not high, by the way, I'm just clear. And I'm starting to understand, I'm going further than what the society limitations are of what my mind should be thinking, or what people think I should be thinking, or what we should be thinking as people, and yada yada yada. And I'm starting to trust myself to be able to explore even further. You know, I'm testing the boundaries, I'm testing the limitations, and I'm learning. And for me, I'm in a place right now where not only do I feel lucky to be alive and feel very fortunate and blessed and just grateful, but at the same time, I'm in a place where I'm learning who I am. You know, I feel like for such a long time, I held on to this identity of who I thought I was for so long, based on where I was from, what I do, you know, this and that. And I've been reflecting a whole lot recently on the question, who am I and who am I really? And during my meditative practices, I do ask myself that question. And, you know, earlier on when I was asking myself that question, I was kind of coming to the answers of like, oh yeah, I'm Chris Limcaco, Filipino American from San Francisco, California. I love good food. I love the Warriors. I love the Giants. I love the San Francisco 49ers. I love, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like I these very kind of like, just like external identities and qualities that like I kind of hung on to and clung on to for a long time, and they still very much are a part of who I am. But what I'm saying is, as I've gone deeper within myself to kind of explore that question and unpack that question even further, I start to realize that the well goes deeper than that. That I'm an infinite being, that I have much more to offer than I've been offering and been giving to the world. And I'm trying to explore that further and further. You know, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to bring about what it is that I learn. And trust me, I gotta be real. It's not an easy thing to do, because when you do go inwards and you do kind of like do a deep dive into the depths of your soul, it can become fucking scary, because you start to realize like you're going further and further and further away from some of the norms that you've been comfortable with, that you've been kind of used to. And you have to learn to trust yourself more in order to kind of like go further into the depths of your soul. And what I've just realized as I've continued on my journey to learn more about who I am and who I'm presenting myself to be in the world, I'm just starting to realize that it's infinite. I'm a child. You know what I'm saying? We are all born children into this world. And somewhere along the way, we lost that because of life. And I'm not point of blame. This is just what it is. We might have gotten these beliefs from our parents, from the people around us, from our experiences, through teachers, all these different things. And we kind of lose that childlike attitude, that childlike mentality along the way. And when you think about that, we're all children when we're first born. And think about a child. They're curious. They're imaginative. They're creative. They're playful. They're loving. They're open. They're true. They're pure. And we were all once that way before certain things happened in our life that kind of shaped us and molded us to be what we currently are right now. So going back, as I go inward, as I reflect on that question of who am I really, I start to get past some of the superficial stuff. I start to get past some of the identities and the qualities about myself that I've clung on to for so long. And I start to go further and realize that it doesn't end. It's an infinite space. And I'm not just Chris Limcocco from San Francisco. I love the Warriors and blah, blah, blah. I'm much more than that. And I realize, when I realize that in myself, I realize that in you too. You as a human being have the same depth that I have, that the next person has. You have a soul, and that soul is infinite. And I encourage you to get still, to get silent. Ponder that question, even when it gets scary. And just go further and unpack that further. Learn to trust yourself. Learn to know yourself. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm learning to know myself. Because, I realize this too. We hear a lot of, and I've said it too. Before I say this, I have also been one of the persons that advocates for telling people to love themselves. I firmly believe you should love yourself for sure. But at the same time, before you love yourself, begin to know yourself. And in knowing yourself, you can find so many different things that you love about yourself. You're probably going to find a lot of different things that you hate about yourself too, that you're not so happy with. But when you realize that you can change, and then it's on you to change, and that you can grow, and there's resources and people and all sorts of different methods of helping you bring about the change that you want in your life, then it's absolutely possible, and it's just a matter of you doing it. Then you can really cultivate the life that you want. You can manifest the life that you want. And I am learning how to do that. And it's fucking wild. And as I've kind of just continued on my path, I'm just learning, I'm sharing, I'm giving, I'm loving, I'm being more open. I am open to everything. I am just being more grateful. I am being more patient. I am being more explorative. Oh man, it's just crazy. And that's the type of shit that makes me excited about being able to participate in this life. You know what I'm saying? Because anything is really possible. And if you argue different, then by all means, please feel free to believe what you believe. But I believe anything's possible. And I'm over here just trying to get clear on what it is I want to manifest in my life. And it's starting to become clearer by the day. You know what I mean? As I learn who I am, learn the things that like I like to do, what I love to do, and and I learn what my mission and my purpose is. I take that even further. It just becomes the path. The path just unfolds. It's so trippy how that happens. And honestly, this pandemic, as crazy as it's been televised and all that shit, and obviously there's some fucked up shit going on with this fucking pandemic that I'm very wary of and aware of. But at the same time, for me personally, and I can speak confidently for a large group of people out there, this pandemic has been a blessing in disguise in many ways, because it slowed things down. For those of us that are fortunate to still be healthy, still be alive, it really forced all of us to kind of like pump the brakes on what the fuck we were doing. You know what I'm saying? And it forced us to kind of like re-examine our priorities. It forced us to stay indoors and, appreciate what we have. And, I mean, for me personally, it really helped me learn a lot more about who I am. And it helped me buckle down way more on what it is I want to deliver to this world before my time is ultimately up. What gift I want to give, what legacy I want to leave, what I want my tombstone to read, what I want people to remember me as. You know what I'm saying? And also at the same time, find enjoyment in the whole process, in the journey. And that's really an accurate depiction of where I'm at right now. I'm just fucking enjoying the journey. No 2 days are the same, people. Please understand that. Shit might seem mundane. Shit might seem like it's the same and repetitive. Like it's like a fucking, a pattern every day that you just experience in the Matrix, but it's not the fucking same. We get 24 hours in a day, and again, time is just a man-made constraint. We're not even going to go there. But, you only get a finite amount of energy that your body allows each day to perform and to bring about the things that you want to bring about in your life. And we got to use that shit wisely. I'm starting to realize that more and more. And, shit, to be dead ass, I'm going to just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like, regardless of, like, what anybody else is doing, I'm going to just keep pushing forward. I got a lot of things cooking up. As y'all know, in one of the last episodes I did, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I did mention that I've got several different projects lined up. And I'm just networking, working with people, trying to deliver what it is I intend to deliver. And it's just like I said, the path is just unfolding every day. It's becoming clearer and clearer, and I'm just so appreciative to be able to experience all this stuff with all y'all, be able to participate, and it's been a dope journey thus far. And I know that the best is yet to come. The fucking best is yet to come. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Life has been sweet, but the best is yet to come. Let's go. On that fucking note, hey, please make sure you're following me on Instagram at CL_the source. And I'm way more active on my bbm.podcast Instagram handle. So that's at bbm.podcast. I'm also on Twitter, bbmpodlife. And please make sure you're subscribing to this channel on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, on Anchor. Hit me up on YouTube, BBM Pod Life. check out the videos over there. Hit subscribe. Hit the like button. Hit all that. Help me out, y'all. Help me kind of extend this reach as far as I possibly can. Because if y'all can't tell by now, I'm trying to just radiate love, radiate light, trying to share good vibes, uplift people, trying to provide value, and just trying to help people in as many ways as I possibly can. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to need y'all help too, for real. So thank you if you're already doing some of these things that I mentioned and supporting me. You know what I'm saying? It really means the world to me. I say that all the time, and I don't say that just to say that. I truly mean it. I love and appreciate all y'all. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Blessed Motherfucking Beyond Measure podcast. Peace.